Welcome to LaughNapkin. Today I have 3 stories from r/EntitledParents for you and 1 bonus story from a mystery subreddit. Can you guess which one it is? Comment below with your answers. Also, I want to thank all of my dedicated subscribers for the support of this channel. We're currently at 236 subscribers, so close to the goal of 250. Share this video with a friend or family member. I know we can do it, guys. Also, join me and a few others on our Discord server. We're a small group of very chatty people and you're sure to have a good time. Link in the description below. I know, I'm talking way too much, so let's get to the stories. Entitled mom and her daughter ruined the trip I've been planning for 20 years. Guys, I was thinking about how lucky I am that I never really had any entitled parents to deal with. And then boom, my brain was like, hang on, remember Karen? Without trying to identify her, this woman's name was literally Karen. And oh boy, she certainly showed her true colors. A little backstory. From the first time I saw Hocus Pocus as a wee 7-year-old back in the 90s, I've wanted to visit Salem. I am obsessed with autumn and Halloween, but being English, it was never a huge thing growing up. My parents always tried their best to make Halloween special though, and I've grown up to throw a party every year. I'd never found anyone able to take my dream trip to the States in October with me though. Enter Entitled Daughter. Entitled Daughter was a work colleague and we hit it off straight away. Long story short, we discovered that we both wanted to visit Boston and Salem, then Maine, so we booked it. Finally, I get to live out my dream. Enter Entitled Mother. For some reason, Entitled Daughter wanted her mother to come with us. Entitled Daughter was 23 at the time and I was 28, but you know, fair enough. 3 people is more fun. I was so wrong. They ignored me almost the entire trip unless they wanted something. I have severe OCD. Being given the cold shoulder makes me think I've done something terrible, am too annoying, everyone hates me. Then they took the 2 king-size beds at our Boston Airbnb, leaving me with a fold-out camp bed. Then poured huge scorn on everything I suggested we do. Ghost tours, learning the history of the places we're in, visiting cool places, all in favor of spending hours in Victoria's Secret. Yeah, Victoria's Secret is cool and all, but we're in another country with a super cool history. The worst part came when we arrived in Salem, my all-time #1 destination. Entitled Daughter started a conversation about my OCD and the fact that I used to self-harm years ago. Why? Why start that conversation? And Entitled Mom looked me in the eye and said, I don't sympathize with you. I don't believe in mental illness. It's just people whining. Because I couldn't punch her, I walked off to have a bit of a cry. I pretty much left them to their own devices after that. I felt safe enough on my own in Salem, and people were so nice when I blathered on about how I wanted to visit for 20 years. They gave me lots of discounts, which is something I never expected as a Brit. I even got a tattoo to commemorate the trip. The rest of the holiday was extremely strained, and I was so glad to go home. They ruined it for me. I would love to go again without them. Needless to say, Entitled Daughter and I are no longer friends. Story number 2. Entitled Mom thinks I'm a maid, then tries to steal towels. In 2015, 4 of my friends and myself got together and headed off to Disneyland in California. We did so much that on the last night there, we were too exhausted to clean the room we were all sharing. We all agreed to get up early and clean it. Only while we set the alarm, we forgot to turn it on, so we slept in. 2 of the women had a flight to catch, so I made everyone coffee while they were getting ready, so they could drink some coffee and make their way to the airport. The other 2 women and myself decided to take the empty shopping bags and clean up our mess while packing. It was getting close to our checkout time, so we were in a hurry. When we were just about done, I told my friends that they could walk down to the restaurant nearby and order breakfast. I could finish up myself and meet them there. One of them put on perfume that smelled nice but burned my nose, so I left the door open while I was finishing cleaning. EM, entitled Momzilla. Me, barely still awake. Maid, fantastic lady. EM, excuse me, we need our room cleaned. Now, I thought she was talking to a maid that was outside. I had my back to her, so I didn't realize she was looking at me. EM, excuse me. Me, still thinking it's not me. EM, walks up next to me. Excuse me. Me, guy. Yep, I make weird noises when I'm shocked or scared. I spun around to find an annoyed, entitled mom glaring at me. Me, hi. EM, I said we need a maid to clean our room, and we need extra towels. Me, okay. EM, I need you to clean my room. Me, realizes what she's saying. Oh, I'm not the maid. I can't remember what I was wearing, but I knew it did not look anything like the maid's uniform. So I was confused that she thought I was the maid. EM, well, I saw you cleaning this room. Oh, that's why. Me, yeah, well, I wanted to create less work for the maid when she came around. EM, why? It's their job to clean up after you. Me, yeah, but we shouldn't have left it in this state for them to clean up. EM, oh, so you figured that if you clean this room yourself, you wouldn't have to tip them? Me, flabbergasted, I was gonna tip them anyways. EM, but not as much. Me, as much as I wanted to argue, I spot the time and say, ma'am, I need to finish up here and check out. Can you please leave me alone? EM, fine. She starts to leave, but then she turns around. Do you have any spare towels we can use? I had almost said yes because I wanted her gone. However, the coffee kicked in at this moment and I realized I shouldn't let her do it. Me, no, we don't. We use them all. I was lying. EM, are you serious? I bet you're lying. Just give me 3. My children and I want to use the pool. Me, sorry, but if you take the towels, we could get charged for taking them. EM, I'll return them. Me, sorry, no. She got really angry and started to try to push past me. I managed to stay between her and the bathroom door. She tried to push me, but I'm a big woman, and she can't even squeeze around me. EM, move! Me, no, get out of here. I need to finish getting ready. EM, move or I'll hit you. I'll hit you so hard, your nose would be in more pieces than Humpty Dumpty. Maid coming in. If you do that, I'll have your ass arrested in a heartbeat. The maid had heard the yelling and thankfully came in to help. She had the radio in her hand and she was using it to call for help. The entitled mom tried to get out of there quickly, but the maid had grabbed her. Entitled mom tried to scream, "Assault! Assault!" No one listened. Security came, and when I finally left, I saw her and her kids in a taxi leaving the hotel. I guess they kicked her out. I finished packing and cleaning and left $100 as a tip. I tried to put on a brave face, but my legs were shaking from that encounter. At least I was able to check out in time and make it to breakfast. I shared my story and my friends treated me to breakfast before we headed to the airport. What a way to end a trip. Although, I had to admit, that Humpty Dumpty line was pretty neat. Story number 3. Entitled parents think that because there is a pool, they should be allowed to use it. This is a story from last year, but I'm still bristling about it, so I thought it would be worth a retell. I tacked a few days holiday onto a work trip to Charleston and had gotten an Airbnb out on the coast with my husband and 2 friends who lived in New York. They flew out to stay with us for the weekend. It was a real old friend catch-up. Very boozy, but very chilled out. We'd been out for lunch on the second day and heading back to the house. We all grabbed a drink and went out onto the back garden deck thing to be greeted by the sight of a woman by the pool with 2 kids splashing around. As soon as she saw us, she ran over shouting and screaming at us. For a second, we all thought we were in the wrong house. Anyway, the entitled woman, I'll call her Karen, started screaming at us saying she'd been waiting for us for 30 minutes and in the end had to break the back gate to get in so her kids could use the pool, and how her kids had gotten really hot and they needed to get some drinks and snacks now. My friend found her voice first and asked her what the heck was going on and what was this woman doing in our pool. Karen explained, ranted that she was best friends with the owners but didn't know their names, and they let her use the pool when there weren't guests at the house. We pointed out that we were in fact guests. Karen retaliated, saying that no one was in there when she arrived, and she knew the owner would want her kids to be happy, and we need to sort out those drinks and snacks for her kids. Meanwhile, I'm calling the owner, who isn't picking up, and the argument is getting heated with my husband now telling the very angry woman to get the heck out of the backyard. She gets the kids out while shouting that we weren't using the pool anyway, how unhappy we're making the kids, and how we need to put the kids first. I think the language coming out of your face is upsetting them more, actually, Karen. Her parting shot as she leaves is to take the piss out of my accent, Brit, and then to finish us all off telling us that we must be pedophiles to come away as a child-free group of 4 and that she was going to call the police on us. We were still so confused hours later. When the owner eventually called me back, it turns out the woman is a relative of the woman who ran the cleaning company they used, and have never once been invited to use the pool. Total craziness. But it did give us a good holiday story, I suppose. Bonus story. Local hero sticks it to City Hall. This happened quite a few years ago. Where my hometown is, there's a thing called ALR, Agriculture Land Reserve. Basically, these are areas of land that can only ever be used for agriculture in order to protect prime agriculture land from becoming highways, strip malls, and things like that. A friend of a friend, let's call him Fred, had inherited a piece of such land on the outskirts of the city. He had no interest in doing any kind of farming, but the ALR rules allowed the property owner to have a personal residence on the land. So he built a house on it and had a nice place to live just outside of town. Now, City Hall has ways of acquiring ALR land and using it for non-agriculture purposes. I'm not familiar with how exactly, but they can, and it's about impossible for anybody else to. One thing the city would do is acquire ALR land and turn it into condo developments. They had a vision for 3 high-end condos to be built where Fred's property was. They had already bought the properties on either side of Fred's land and were going after his too. The city was only offering Fred the property value, and since he just built a house there, he would be losing on the deal, so Fred said no. While the condos on either side of Fred were being constructed, the city used every tool they could to try to expropriate Fred's land, but the ALR restrictions made it tricky. Finally, they told Fred that since his land was ALR, he needed to be using it for agriculture within 30 days or they could take it from him. Fred's response? Pig farm. He crammed as many pigs into his property that he legally could. Full compliance with farming regulations, health and safety, the whole 9 yards. Since he had fulfilled his obligations with the ALR, the city could not touch him, period. The city had already pre-sold a number of these condos, and naturally none of the buyers were very happy to have spent a small fortune to live next to a big stinky pig farm. Most of the buyers had obtained grounds for dismissal on their purchase agreements, while the rest filed a big lawsuit. The city's project was sinking fast. The city started negotiating with Fred, and the story ends with the city finally making Fred an offer on his land that was so ridiculous he had no choice but to accept. The city finished their condo project, but thanks to Fred, they didn't make nearly as much off of it as they had anticipated. Well, that about wraps it up. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and let me know what you think about these 4 stories in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, help me reach my 250 subscriber goal by hitting that subscribe button and bell. By the way, I just started a Discord server for anyone looking to be part of the LaughNapkin community. Link in the description below. See you next time.